Welcome back to another episode of DFS Express. I am your host, the Daily Fantasy Sniper, here to talk UFC Boise. The main event is Junior Dos Santos taking on Blagoy Ivanov. Another live episode. I do these on YouTube Live now. The episode also, when I don't have a chance to re-record, I actually only skip the sponsors in the start. Episode, as always, is brought to you by the DFS Army, the Loudmouth MMA podcast, and Newsom MMA. Make sure and check out all those great guys. I appreciate them all supporting the content that I do. If you're listening on one of those mediums after the fact, I try and record these Wednesday nights, usually between 9:30 and 10 Eastern time. I'll tweet it out on my Twitter at the DFS Sniper 1S. Send the live links there. Can chat as we go along. If you listen to last week's episode, there was some good interaction in both the International Fight Week episode, so I really enjoyed that. If you're in here, feel free to chat as we break down UFC Boise for your daily fantasy contest. These are not extensive breakdowns. I try and, there's a lot of content out there, in and out, about 15 minutes, breaking down each fight quickly and who I think the preferred play for your fantasy contest is. Again, I record these on Wednesday. Make sure you join DFS Army. We have a good Slack chat area for VIP members. The link is down in the description. There's more content there from other great handicappers and DFS players. And sometimes opinions change from the video on Wednesday to when I build lineups Friday night, Saturday morning. But this is a good starting place, so let's get to it. Kind of enough of the intro. Jody Escobar, 8,300, taking on Jessica Aguilar, 7,900. Jessica Aguilar is a pioneer of women's MMA. Has been around a long time, but she is a little one-dimensional, and she's getting up there in age. She was pulled from her last fight, which she claims was chapped lips. Guys, it wasn't chapped lips. It was the fact that that's what she said, and the New York State Athletic Commission can't tell you why they actually did it. There's all kinds of medical rules, HIPAA rules that prohibit that. I picked Escobar before. I'm more confident here. The problem is the price and the lines have raised on Escobar. I think people understand that Aguilar is one-dimensional. Escobar should be able to out-volume her, win a decision on the feet, stop the takedowns. That's the way Aguilar wins. She'll be able to get a takedown here or there, score some points. Overall, I don't think either one of these fighters scores well on DraftKings. But Escobar is my pick to win the fight to out-volume her, so she'll be the preferred play at 8,300. But I think this fight is a better fight to bet than play in fantasy. Next up, we have Mark De La Rosa at 7,600, taking on Elias Garcia at 8,600. Elias Garcia is, I believe he's definitely making his UFC debut. I think he's 5-0. Fights out of Rufus Sport. Fights at 125 pounds. Could be 135. Of course, I had a moment there. I believe it fights at 135 against De La Rosa. Last fought Tim Elliott. See, guys, things happen live. An old episode, I might have stopped there and just reshot this. So do it live. De La Rosa lost Tim Elliott. He took that fight on short notice. Garcia throws a lot of leg kicks from Rufus Sport. Now that I say it again, I really should just go ahead and look it up. What weight class is at, but Garcia can finish, and they're at a lower weight class. That's why he's in the UFC. De La Rosa, though, I think does everything well. His best attribute is probably his grappling, and because Garcia, I brought up the leg kicks twice already. The way I see this fight playing out is De La Rosa being able to secure some takedowns off of those leg kicks. He's okay on the feet. Both of these guys are really just okay everywhere. They're well-rounded mixed martial artists. I think the biggest gap is I think De La Rosa should be the bigger guy. I want to see how they look at weigh-ins. Also, as I mentioned, in the grappling, and De La Rosa is cheaper. I don't want to pay $8,600 for a guy making his UFC debut from that camp. It just something doesn't feel right to me there. De La Rosa is my preferred play at $7,600, though I'm not sure how much I will have of him. Next up, Liz Carmouche, 8,200, taking on Jennifer Maia at 8,000. Jennifer Maia is a Muay Thai fighter, no relation to Damian Maia. Don't get confused there. Liz Carmouche, we know who she is. She's a grinder. She lost last time out to Alexis Davis in a close fight, but she looks for takedowns. What is deceptive, though, is that even though she looks for takedowns, even in wins, she doesn't score great. She doesn't do a lot of advancing. In her win against Caitlin Chukagian, she got 4 takedowns and only scored 67 points on DraftKings. I think that's how this fight is going to play out, though. I think that Carmouche is going to be able to use her strength and her size and push Jennifer Maia up against the cage, make it a dirty type of fight, get a couple of takedowns there. Maia has some weapons. She's a good Muay Thai fighter, as I mentioned. If in the clinch, she can find her way to the plum clinch, control the head of Carmouche. Maybe she lands some knees there. But overall, I think Carmouche is just going to be too strong for Jennifer Maia. Again, I see this fight going to a decision. It's another one just like the first fight that I don't think scores very highly. I don't think you need a ton of the Fight Pass prelims this week. I'll take Liz Carmouche to get a decision, though. And for that reason, she is the preferred play at 8,200. Next up, Kurt Halabaugh, 8,800, taking on Raoni Barcelos at 7,400. Get to one of my favorite GPP plays of the card, and I'm considering him in cash. It is Raoni Barcelos. Barcelos is an underdog in this fight. He's had a long layoff, but Kurt Halabaugh is coming off of a 9-month suspension. He beat Matt Bissett on the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series in Season 1. That was changed to a no contest as he took an IV after weigh-ins, which is not allowed under USADA rules. Barcelos, though, is just, in my mind, he's more dangerous everywhere this fight goes. Barcelos is a good wrestler. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's live to submissions. He also hits a hell of a lot harder than Kurt Halabaugh. Halabaugh is obviously the veteran in this matchup. His first in the UFC didn't go very well. I just think Barcelos, wrapping back to where I started this up, is just more dangerous everywhere this fight goes. Halabaugh is a tough guy. He's got decent striking, but Barcelos has more power. I like him to grapple. 7,400, I think, is a really good price, especially in tournaments. So Barcelos is clearly the preferred play for me at 7,400. Next up, Said Nurmagomedov, 8,500, taking on Justin Scoggins at 7,700. Nurmagomedov, a little bit of name confusion on this card, similar to the two Mayas. Nurmagomedov is related to Khabib. He is his younger cousin. However, totally different fighter, even though they fight out of the gym in Dagestan. Nurmagomedov is not a grinding type of grappler. He is more of a striker, throws a lot of flashy stuff, strong. He does have some submissions on his record. He's capable there. The question in this fight, though, is what Justin Scoggins is going to show up. Justin Scoggins, on his best day, he can go out and take down Ray Borg 4 times. On his worst days, he's diving into takedowns, getting guillotined by Ulka Sasaki and Pedro Munoz. I can't trust Justin Scoggins in a fight. My pick here is going to be Said Nurmagomedov. I think it's a live fight in GPPs on both sides. Nurmagomedov can knock you out with some of that flashy stuff that I'm not convinced Scoggins won't walk into. Scoggins is a decent striker. I do think his path to victory here is the takedowns. However, I think Nurmagomedov will be able to get up. I don't think Scoggins can hold him down. But because he could look for takedowns, I'm not going to full fade Scoggins. Don't trust his fight IQ. My pick and preferred play is still Said Nurmagomedov at 8,500. Alexander Volkanovski, 9,200, taking on Darren Elkins at 7,000. Darren Elkins continues to be the underdog, continues to pull through for people. I did like him against Michael Johnson. Took him down and submitted him. Close fight against Dennis Bermudez after that monumental comeback victory we all remember against Mirsad Bektik. Volkanovski, though, is just a different animal. He can put a good pace on. He's also more of a finisher. Bektik, was beating up Elkins for 2 rounds. If Volkanovski put Elkins in that position, he's going to finish him. He finished Kennedy, who's now didn't even re-sign with the UFC. He's put it on some people. He has gone to decision against Shane Young and Mizuto Hirota, but he still scores very well in those fights. I'm not going to fade Volkanovski. at all for any reason. I'm picking him to win the fight. I think he rolls in this one. I think he'll get Elkins in one of those positions where Elkins typically has taken a lot of damage, only he'll finish him, which people have not been able to do. Elkins, of course, throw him in GPPs in case he does what he does and comes through as an underdog. I think Volkanovski is one of the legit prospects at this weight. I wish he'd bump down a weight because he's a little undersized, but overall you can't not pick Volkanovski. He's definitely the preferred play. Alejandro Perez, 9,100, taking on Eddie Wineland at 7,100. I've seen people bet Alejandro Perez. I get it. He's a striker. He finished Matthew Lopez last time out. But overall, the way this guy fights, he's not going to score very highly. I think it's a better bet than DraftKings play. Eddie Wineland does leave his chin out there to be hit. He can be tagged. But he hasn't been finished since 2014. That was Johnny Eduardo, who hits hard as a kickboxer. While I'm picking Perez to win the fight because I think he can weasel out a decision, I think the more upside for the price tag lies with Eddie Wineland. These guys should stand and trade the stand-up affair. Unless Wineland's chin is shot, which we haven't seen in the last few fights, I think that this goes to a decision. And price per dollar, I'll take Eddie Wineland at 7,100. Next fight is probably my hottest take of the card, or my strongest take, and it keeps getting stronger. I disagree with some guys that you all know very well. If you're watching this video or listening to this episode and follow DFS, thanks Aaron Kessel for saying I'm the man. And I've got Kevin Football Geeks in here. Cash lock on who, Kevin? Get back to me in a second. Don't know when that comment was typed. Next up, Kat Zingano, 8,100, taking on Marion Renault at 8,100. Sun Tzu is all about Marion Renault. I'm not on board. I like Kat Zingano in this one. A couple reasons why. They're both older fighters. Renault is even older, 41 compared to 36 for Kat Zingano. I know Renault has gotten finishes as of late, but she finished Sarah McMahon, who's notoriously looks for a way out of the cage. She finished Talita Bernardo, but Bernardo was in a really close fight with her for 2 rounds and just totally ran out of gas, could barely stand up. A draw against Betch Correia, which does not look good, and got a 3rd round finish over Milana Dudieva. The problem with Kat Zingano is she's only fought 3 times in the last 3 years. Injuries and the stuff outside of the cage, some tragic stuff, has really hampered her career. But she was in a fight last time out against Caitlin Vieira, good stand-up match. Caitlin Vieira is an up-and-coming prospect in the division and lost to Juliana Pena. Still got 3 takedowns against Pena. I think Zingano gets takedowns in this fight. We've seen Renault be taken down before. She can be controlled on the ground. She relies on the subs. I don't think Zingano's a better BJJ practitioner than Sarah McMahon. I think she's got good top control. Is not going to get caught in the sub. While her striking isn't pretty, I like the way she presses forward and just going to put the grind on Renault, look for a takedown. She should be a lot stronger than Marion Renault. They're about the same size, but I think Zingano's a ton stronger. This fight's priced even at 8,100. I have a strong lean towards Kat Zingano. I have a bet on her at plus 100. The line's creeping up towards Zingano, so while guys like Sun Tzu and some other people out in MMA Twitter are picking Marion Renault, the line's crawling towards Zingano. I want to see where it gets on fight day. She's clearly my preferred play at 8,100. Next up, we have Chad Money Mendez at 8,900, taking on Miles Jury at 7,300. Oh, don't worry, Kevin. I will get to Sage. I'm working up. I like Sage quite a bit, but we'll get there. Money Mendez is coming off a 3-year layoff, tested positive for HGH. Miles Jury, on the other hand, 7,300, looked impressive last time out against Rick Glenn. I want to start this breakdown by saying Miles Jury, I'm expecting to be super chalky at 7,300. People don't trust Chad Mendez. They were impressed with Rick Glenn last time out. Ring rust is a real thing. It wouldn't surprise me if Miles Jury won this fight. I'm going to have exposure to both sides. If you don't like Barcelos, who I think is my favorite sub $7,500 play this week, Miles Jury is going to be popular. You can probably plug him in a cash lineup, and more times than not, I think you'll have a 5-on-5 on your hands. I expect him to be very popular. Whereas on the Money Mendez side, if Chad Mendez does what made him successful. Early in his career, he was a wrestler, which we love on DraftKings, that relentless type of wrestler. He did fall in love a little bit with his power in his hands, but he was knocking people down. He knocked out Ricardo Lamas twice, but knocked him down twice, got a knockout in that fight in the first round. Lost to Conor McGregor, but took Conor McGregor down quite a bit early and gassed out because he took that fight on short notice and was knocked out by Frankie Edgar. Those are the guys he's losing to. Whereas Rick Glenn. Rick Glenn's getting a lot of steam on MMA Twitter. As I said, I think he's going to be popular, but I think Money Mendez makes for a really good GPP play. He's got finishing potential. I don't think he's going to be high owned, and for those reasons, he's actually going to be my preferred play at 8,900. Next up, Randy Brown, 8,300, taking on Nico Price at 7,900. One of the more interesting fights in the card because the line has flipped since opening. This fight opened up. Nico Price was a minus 140 favorite. As of right now, Randy Brown is a minus 140 favorite. DraftKings priced it after the line flipped. Randy Brown is more expensive. I like Nico Price here. I think Nico Price is a little bit more technical everywhere the fight goes, whereas Randy Brown relies on some athleticism and explosion. Nico Price, good striker. We've seen him. He started slow against George Sullivan, which I think has some people worried. Randy Brown was in a close fight against Mickey Gall. People expected him to roll in that fight. Nico Price, though, is the more dangerous grappler. I think he can get a takedown in this fight. Brown's also capable of getting the takedown, but Price is much more dangerous on the ground to get a submission. I think he is a more technical striker, whereas Brown has maybe a little bit more power, although we've seen Price knock out Morono and Alan Jouban. So I like Price pretty much everywhere here. It's a close fight, but I think Price is a little better, and I'm getting a discount. So Nico Price is the preferred play at 7,900. Next up, Dennis Bermudez, 9,000, taking on Rick Glenn at 7,200. Dennis Bermudez is fighting for his UFC career here, and he has to know what he's on 3 straight losses. Got knocked out by the Korean Zombie, lost a close split decision to Darren Elkins, and last time out was in a fun fight, but he did lose to Andre Fili. He was taken down 4 times in that fight. This is a different opponent, though. I like Bermudez here. The problem is he's priced up near Volkanovski. I don't know how much I'm going to have. It's an interesting pivot, though. He needs to go back to his wrestling. I think that's his biggest advantage in this fight. Miles Jury made Rick Glenn look not very good. Dennis Bermudez, I think, is just a higher caliber MMA fighter. That being said, I don't have a ton of interest in Rick Glenn this week. Bermudez, you're relying on him going back to the game plan that's made him successful. That's why I think he's more of a pivot play. I think he's a better mixed martial artist. He should be able to. I think he has a speed advantage. Not going to get blown away on the feet. I'll take Dennis Bermudez at 9,000. I won't have a ton of Rick Glenn this weekend. It'll be hard for me to get to Bermudez in cash, but we'll see how the build goes. Popo in the YouTube chat has asked me where my Belgium shirt is. My Belgium shirt is sadly not on because they lost. They're out, Popo. You know that as well as I do. Rubbing it in a little bit in some World Cup talk with the DFS Army guy. Co-main event, Super Sage Northcutt, 8,400, taking on Zach Otto at 7,800. It's coming soon. May not be this fight. I'm thinking and hoping that it is. Guys, Sage Northcutt is getting a ton of crap. He's 22 years old. We just saw this with Jake Matthews. I'm not saying he's just Jake Matthews. They're obviously totally different fighters. Sage Northcutt is 22 years old and 5-2 in the UFC. He's relatively recently at a good camp at Team Alpha Male, has made improvements. I get people don't like him. Zach Otto, on the other hand, is not that good. I've seen people betting Zach Otto, and for the love of God, I just don't get it. Yes, he knocked out Mike Pyle. I think Zach Otto is so bad, I picked Mike Pyle, hoping maybe his chin would hold up. It clearly didn't. That was the wrong play, but did not work. He knocked out by Li Jinglong. I'm not going to hold that against him. Whereas you have Keiichi Kunamoto. That was a split decision. He got 2 takedowns. He lost to Sergio Moraes, and he went to a split decision against Joshua Berkman. That's not that impressive. I'm not scared of his takedowns taking down stage. up at 170. I'm actually not afraid or of Otto's takedowns at all. And I think that Northcutt can get a takedown or two here. I'm not afraid of the size disadvantage. I'm not afraid of Otto on the feet. Only guy he's knocked out is Mike Pyle, and that was a chin issue. Sage should be faster, coming up a weight class. He's got the faster hands. I think he can get the fight down if he wants it. I want no part of rostering Otto, even if you like Otto. Kunamoto, he scored 67 points in a win. He beat Berkman, he scored 63. So if you discount the Mike Pyle win, and again, it's Mike Pyle, what are we talking about here? I like Sage's got more upside pretty much everywhere, especially in the long haul. The UFC is trying to get him a win for what it's worth. I don't rate Zach Otto highly. Sage Northcutt is my preferred play and could be one of my highest leverage spots because people seem to just hate Sage. So at 8,400, I'm going to have a healthy amount of Sage Northcutt. Looking at some comments real quick, that's why you hear it. Yep, Popo, I definitely do love a bet on Perez, but I don't like it for DraftKings. I don't think he scores super highly. So I think that Wineland's better for DFS, as I mentioned. And age-adjusted success in the UFC should be a thing. It kind of is if you're smart, Aaron. We've seen it before. You kind of can judge that moving forward when a guy's going to fall off. It can be hard, but there definitely is something to it, especially in the case of like Jessica Aguilar. That's age-adjusted success. Like she had success years ago when women's MMA was in the Stone Ages. But now we get to our main event. It is Junior Dos Santos at 8,700, taking on Blagoy Ivanov at 7,500. Junior Dos Santos coming off a year layoff after being knocked out by Stipe Miocic, which I like to see. I like that he took the time off. Blagoy Ivanov is a former PFL World Series of Fighting heavyweight champ. Is a Sambo guy, but doesn't bring that heavy pressure that I think is what Dos Santos struggles with. Dos Santos, I don't think he's going to be on the back foot in this fight. The tape I've seen of Blagoy, he carries his hands relatively low. And I think Dos Santos, well, I know Dos Santos is the better boxer. I think Dos Santos is able to box him up and eventually knock him out. Dos Santos still has the power. You just have to worry about is when is Junior Dos Santos going to fall off. But Ivanov isn't an especially young fighter. If you look at his record, he is, I believe it's 17-1. But his best win was 2 fights ago against Sean Jordan. I don't like where he carries his hands. They're too low for me. He doesn't bring pressure to back up Junior Dos Santos. I like Dos Santos to get a finish here. So for that reason, he is my preferred play at 8,700. Check back in the comments one more time. Anyone who beats Fader, respect, I think, Sniper. Okay, but in this matchup, I don't like carries his hands too low for me. And Fedor, we can have a whole other talk about Fedor in the DFS Army Slack chat, which they mentioned at the start. You guys should be in DFS Army. The link is down in the description. Use the code SNIPER for 10% off. If you're listening to this through Loudmouth MMA, thank you. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. If you're not, News MMA, thank you guys for your support. I really like doing these live. I'm going to keep doing them. Expect them Wednesday nights, somewhere between 9 and 10:30. 9:30 and 10:30 is the normal time. Good luck in your contests. I will see you next time.